and welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton. And today we are going to talk about the Chesapeake Bay, how it's doing, what we still need to do, and what the Chesapeake Bay Foundation is doing to help. My guest is Tanner Council from the foundation. Welcome back.
Thank you. Great to be back.
You know, we still have a long way to go.
We do.
But we have made some progress.
Absolutely.
And I think it's important to take a step back and acknowledge that.
Absolutely. You know, we are starting to see some of the first indicators of a system that's bouncing back. Water clarity events, I think a lot of viewers will notice on certain days, the water looks really, really clear. We're starting to see certain species come back. You know, we're seeing seahorses come back that people didn't even know were here in the bay.
Yeah.
We are seeing record numbers of underwater grasses throughout the bay. So we're starting to see those first indicators of, wait, this is what a healthy bay looks like. So it's very, very encouraging. It's starting to really it's very inspiring to people, but we still have a long way to go.
We do, and there's a long-term plan in place.
Correct.
But what are, you know, kind of the key issues, the key stumbling blocks?
So with the long-term plan is to get those, ratchet down the nitrogen, phosphorus, and sediment that's entering our waterways. Basically, fertilizer and dirt. Perfectly natural, essential for life in many ways, but they're hitting the system in excessive amounts, which wreaks havoc on habitat and wildlife and water quality. So ratcheting down the amount of nitrogen, phosphorus, especially here in urban sectors, is very important. So that's primarily from homeowner fertilizer and also our septic systems and stuff like that. In a more rural area, we're looking at agriculture. So we're looking at livestock, We're looking at farming and fields. Still the largest source of pollution, but a source of pollution that's coming down. Whereas urban pollution, the stuff that we're seeing, homeowners' lawns and stuff like that, construction sites, we are seeing that still kind of coming up a little bit, which is very troubling.
So what do we still need to do, and how are we going to get there?
There's a variety of approaches per sector. So in the agricultural sector, we're working hard to work with farmers to provide them the funding and the technical assistance to reduce the pollution coming off of their farms. They know what to do. They need a little bit of the help to do it. So fencing cattle out of streams, cover crops, rotational grazing, certain practices like that. And helping our farmers do that. In the urban sector, a big part of it is kind of holding on to the green infrastructure that we have in place and improving projects such as living shorelines, for example, reducing some of the effluents coming off of properties, and also reducing some of that wave energy to maintain reduce some of that erosion. And all the localities are looking, especially here in Hampton Roads, with the flooding issue. So we're looking at ways to reduce flooding and also improve water quality, which is these co-benefits, which are really attractive to localities when they're looking to spend money on a project. How many good things can you get out of a particular project?
And that, you know, Hampton has spent a lot of time trying to figure out, there are certain mandates that we have to meet. And all those projects are very, very expensive. And then trying to say, okay, well, if we're going to meet this stormwater goal, can we also reduce flooding? Can we also create an economic benefit? How can we get multiple things accomplished with this one project? And, you know, I think we've worked on a lot of the sort of easy, and also, can we do it on a public land? A lot of our retaining ponds on public land, because then you don't have to acquire land, and you know, we're trying to do a lot of that in the most cost-effective way, but it's still been very expensive.
Money is one of the great finite resources that we have, but I can say the City of Hampton is doing wonderful things to find those co-benefits, to find those projects that hit multiple goals. So the City of Hampton brought in the Dutch to talk about how do we address flooding, you know, and the Dutch have been living with it for, you know, hundreds, thousands of years. We're working with Chesapeake Bay Foundation. We had a wonderful grant program that was funded by National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, where we worked with the city to do all sorts of stuff. We did some small rain gardens. We did some larger projects on some of the secondary roads. We took elected officials and some of your decision makers out on the water with us. Lots of oyster restoration. We did a voices class for the public. We did all sorts of stuff. The City of Hampton's been very, very progressive in that respect.
And those rain gardens are interesting because they were on public property. There were some at schools. There was one at the Air and Space Park, and the places where people can go visit them and get ideas. You did workshops to teach people how to do it, things that people can replicate at home. And you might think, how much difference does my rain barrel or my rain garden make? But it does. If each of us do those things, and those are fairly small dollar things,
yes,
it really adds up. It can make a huge difference.
It's very true. So the one rain garden we have at Air Power Park, is it going to change the game on that little creek? But enough people go by there, they see it, it inspires them, it lets them know that A, there's an issue. There's obviously some sort of solution, part of a solution to a larger problem. And B, it's, oh, that looks pretty good. Maybe I could do that at my house, or maybe I could do that at my place of business. So we did do them at parks and at schools, which were highly visible, open to the public, to sort of inspire them. And you're 100% right. Not one rain barrel, but a whole street load of rain barrels could have a significant visible impact, especially on your flooding. And I've always said that, number one, be aware that we have some water quality issues in the area. Just knowing that there's an issue is a crucial first step. And number two, if everybody just did one thing in their life, they wove one practice into their life, we may not even be in this mess in the first place.
And I do want to remind people, Clean City Commission does rain barrel workshops multiple times a year. It's really easy to do. And the Virginia Cooperative Extension will test your soil. You may not need fertilizer. And even if you do, you may not need nearly as much as you think you do.
Right.
So you can prevent some of that runoff in the first place and save yourself money.
Absolutely. Why throw fertilizer on the ground? Why go to the store and pay for something that you actually don't need? Again, you could use the cooperative extension to have your soil checked. It's very, very efficient. And I'd also mention the Hampton Waterways Restoration Project, which is a subgroup of the Clean City Commission. They're a wonderful group that you can work with. That's doing all sorts of excellent projects. It's volunteer-based, and they're always looking for people to get involved with them as well.
Yeah, they are. And, I don't know if you looked on your way in, but the Detention Pond or Retention Pond, and I get them mixed up, but the one right out here got redone last year. It had silted up, and it had a lot of non-native plants and things that weren't filtering properly around it, and they redid that whole thing last year. That was one of our big stormwater projects. And so we're seeing a lot of that, but it isn't enough, right? We still have to do more?
I think that the way we look at it is we've kind of picked a lot of the low-hanging fruit, and now we are looking for more creative ways. And again, finding those co-benefits on projects, other goals that need to be hit as well in order to ratchet down the pollution. But again, we're starting to see those benefits. They talk about tipping points where systems can collapse. And a lot of scientists look, and there's some optimism here, and I'm an optimist, but that there's a tipping point as well that goes in the other direction. So when a system starts to recover, so you start to remove some of the sediment that's in the waterway. Now you have more light. Now there's underwater grasses that can grow. Now they're putting more oxygen in the water, and other wildlife is coming back. You can see this domino effect, very positive domino effect. Unfortunately, it can go the other way. This work the accomplishments and successes that we've seen so far, I cannot underestimate how much hard work has gone into it, and that these successes are not guaranteed to last forever. So it's important to remain vigilant and to protect our natural resources, especially our water quality here in Hampton Roads, which we depend on so much for our economy, our quality of life, our diet, and to continue pressing on. We have a plan in place. This Clean Water Blueprint, which viewers can learn about at cbf.org, is working. It could be one of the great environmental success stories of our country. And this is the time to kind of accelerate. It's not the time to ease back, because we are seeing this plan actually work. So it could be a great model globally for how to restore a very troubled waterway.
And you all are going to be asking the state for some funding help with some of these projects, and some funding help for the localities with some of these projects as well.
Yes. So the Stormwater Local Assistance Fund, which we help advocate for every year, it is administered by the state, the legislature, and these funds are competitive matching grants, so 50% matching grants. And they're usually used for larger projects, specifically to help meet Chesapeake Bay water quality goals. The city of Hampton has received approximately $1.3 million in funding already to do all sorts of projects throughout the city. We have some funding in for fiscal year 19. There's no funding in it for fiscal year 2020. So that's one of the things that we are working on to advocate to our legislators to throw that money in. We're asking for $50 million for 2020 to help fund these projects that are very much in demand and again, competitive and seem to be working well. Having consistency every year helps localities plan to know that there will be funding next year so they can kind of keep that in the back of their mind as they're doing their planning for larger projects. And viewers can help advocate for that as well. It's good to know who your elected official is, and if that's something that you support, let them know.
Absolutely. What else do we need to do? How can we also help keep the bay a little cleaner?
I'd say that, well, there's all kinds of things that you can do at home. I love the comment you made about reducing your fertilizer use, but you can go onto our website and see all sorts of household things you can do. I would focus or mention, especially going into General Assembly, January and February, we are a nonpartisan organization. We see water quality as a nonpartisan issue. It's something that all legislators on either side of the aisle both realize that is very important. Going into January, February is a very, very busy time in Richmond during the General Assembly. I would say knowing who your elected official is and paying attention to what's happening during that time is one of the most important things that you can do. Your elected official is there to listen to you. Picking up the phone or sending a quick email only takes a minute, and it can make a really, really big difference, especially when it comes to some of these decisions that we make with our environmental resources.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we close?
I would just encourage everybody to again stay abreast of local water quality issues and come out and volunteer with the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. We have so many projects going on at all times. We need the public to be involved with our work. To do this, it's not going to be hundreds of, or thousands. It's going to be tens of thousands, if not more, people coming together to improve this resource. And if you want a fun family day, come to the Brock Environmental Center in Virginia Beach to come see our environmental center, to learn about sustainable building, environmental education, and see a beautiful section of Hampton Roads.
That sounds wonderful. And the thing is, there are so many ways you can help the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, or you can get involved. It can be one letter or phone call. It can be one Clean the Bay Day, or it can be an ongoing commitment. There's a lot of different levels that people can, or a donation.
Or a membership.
Or a membership.
Yep.
It can be flexible depending on what kind of time and money you have to give.
There's a role for everyone, and we're very, very happy to help you find that role.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for coming by.
Thanks so much for having me, Robin.
And thank you for watching. I hope you do know that a healthy bay and our healthy rivers and creeks and all the water that is around us. Hampton is completely surrounded and has water running through it all over the place. The health of that water is essential to the health of our community. It is our food, it is a food source, it is recreation, it is tourism, it is economics, it affects all of us, and it is hugely important. We may disagree on the tactics to clean it up and to keep it clean and how quickly to do it and those kinds of things, but I think we all know that it is very, very important to our future. So I hope you will find a way to get involved and to make it a priority. Thanks for watching.